channel, I'm Sophia, and this is gonna be my February wrap-up. I know this is super late, but with the whole quarantine thing and everything, I just haven't been able to film. Everyone is currently home except my mom, because she's a nurse and she has to work, and I didn't have the time to actually set up everything since I'm getting back to filming with my camera and like film. Yeah, so February I read 6 books. I have everything written in my beautiful bullet journal, and again I have 6 books read. I have 1 DNF, which is urban fantasy, and in total I have read 2,557 pages. Of the 6 books that I read, I have 2 fantasies, 1 smut, 1 romance, 1 contemporary, and 1 sci-fi, and the DNF is actually urban fantasy. Now, to get the DNF out of the way, the DNF was Ninth House by Lee Bardugo. I just couldn't. It took me 2 weeks to get to 20% of the book, and I don't know if it was like for the time I read it or just I don't know. I was just not getting into it, and I decided to just leave it at that because it was plain boring, honestly. I'm not ruling it out as a true DNF. If you guys want me to read it, maybe some other time I will give it a shot, but right now it's not my kind of thing. And yeah, so getting to the books I actually read. The first one is a big thick boy, and it is Kingdom of Ash by Sarah J. Maas. I have finally finished this 996 page book. It's a 5 stars for me. Oh my god. Like, if you see my vlogs, I cried about this a lot, and oh my god. Oh my god. I mean, this has quickly become one of my favorite series. The conclusion was so good. This book is so fast. Like, you have to be careful because there's a lot happening and you're following a big, large group of characters, and everyone is doing different things at the same time, and they all combine to the same end. And oh my god, this is awesome. I love this series. I see some people saying, oh, it's trashy, and everyone's just hyping it up. It's not for everyone. If you're not that into romance in a fantasy setting, I can see why you would be bothered by this. If you're like just, you know, bothered by big books in general, I can see why you'd be bothered by this. But this is such a good series, and this is such a good book. It's so freaking good. I love Sarah J. Maas, and I can't wait to pick up Crescent City, and I really love it. If you're willing to commit to a 7-book series where some of them are big chunky boys, I would recommend Throne of Glass. It's so freaking good. It's just awesome. It's amazing, and I love it. Next up, I read the Smutty book. So I think I mentioned this in the vlog, but if you didn't know, I'm actually part of a smutty book club. It's me, Septima, Blanche, Kirsty, Julia, Carmen. Well, it's a bunch of us, okay? So, well, not Kirsty, Weenie. Basically, all of us decided that sometimes we want to read something different. So we decided that we would read 1 smutty book per month. We're actually going through a series of Disney smut books called Wicked Villains by Katie Roberts, and we actually read book number 1, which is Desperate Measures by Katie Robert. This story is following Jafar and Jasmine in a coup d'etat, and basically Jafar has overrun the Sultan and he has captured Jasmine in the process, and it's about them and their developments, and there are some steamy hot scenes in the middle, and Megara and Hades appear, and yes, I love it. I gave it 4 stars. It was surprisingly well written for a smut book. I was not expecting that sort of development in the writing style and the plot itself, like without the steamy scenes. It was surprisingly well written. I really enjoyed it, like steamy scenes and all. And I'm really excited to actually continue the series. We have read the second book for March, which I have already read it, and I'm excited to continue this series, honestly. Okay, so going with that surprising wave, I read The Honeymooners by Christina Lauren, and I give it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. And you're like, Sophia, that's a contemporary romance. I know, but listen to this. I loved it. It was so good. It felt like, you know those movies that usually pass on Fox Life? Like on the summer and everything, right? There's a girl, there's a guy, and there's everything against them, and they don't like each other, but then something happens, and then they fall into each other, and like comedy romance, that's The Honeymooners. It was so good. So basically we're following 2 characters. I can't remember their names. Aha. But I know we're following both of them, and she's from a Latin family, and basically her sister, she has a twin sister, and her sister's like coupon crazy. So she has like made her wedding, like most of her wedding, from coupons and things she won in contests and everything. But the thing is, our main character doesn't like the groom's brother that much, and in a surprising turn of events, they actually have to go on the honeymoon that was supposed to be for the bride and groom. So that happens. The scenes in Hawaii are gold, but I do actually love the depth we got from the characters, and the consequences we got from some of their actions were super realistic, and the developments after they got back, it was so good. I am really excited to read more from Christina Lauren, and this author duo may actually make me like contemporary romance. I know, I'm also surprised. Next up, we have Turtle All the Way Down by John Green. This was our Half-Blood book club for February. It was actually my pick. I loved it. I gave it 4.5 stars. I didn't give it 5 stars because I read the Portuguese edition, and some of the translations actually kill the vibe. And at first I was just considering giving it 5 stars because I do love the story and I do love like the book itself, but I need to rate the copy accordingly, and for this copy I'm giving it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. For the actual book it's 5 out of 5 stars. I will link the live show below, but basically we're following our main character Asa, and she has some issues with anxiety and spiraling thoughts and everything, and basically her childhood friend's dad is missing, and he is a millionaire, so everyone's trying to find him. And yeah, this basically revolves more around Asa and her relationships and her way to dealing with her own weaknesses than actual romance or anything. I really like this book. Again, we went into deeper thoughts in the live show. I will link it down below. It was super good. And if you haven't joined us yet, our book for March is Girls of Paper and Fire, which I have already read. And yeah, join us. Okay, so we're almost done with my books for February, but next up we have Nevermore by Jessica Townsend. I gave it 4 stars. I think the hype actually killed a bit of this book for me. I liked it. I was in a bit of a shock because the first scene, and that's like the first 4 pages, so I'm not spoiling anything, but the first 4 pages is a funeral. And I was like, holy cow, this is a middle grade. How the freaking frack am I diving into a funeral? I was just super like, oh my god. But I really did like it. The characters are really good. We're basically following Morgan Crow, and she was born on a not so happy day, which means she is cursed, and so bad things usually happen around her. But on the day she is supposed to die, she is saved by a man called Jupiter North, who takes her to Nevermore. But this doesn't come easily. For her to stay in Nevermore, she actually has to pass 4 trials. And this is basically her story going through the trials. I really want to read Wondersmith, and it's good, but I think it was a little bit overhyped, and that actually kind of killed the book for me. Okay, so for my last book for February, I read Artifact 1, and I read volumes 1 through 5, which was my arc. I got it from NetGalley, so really thank you for NetGalley and the publisher for sending it my way. I give it 3 stars. This is a sci-fi sort of mystery kind of thing. We're following our main character. I don't know her name. I can't remember her name. But she lives in a world where you can't do science and you can be killed. So her father was killed, and then she was running, and the story itself was kind of a mess. Like, they are figuring out what happened, and they found an artifact, and for me, there's a big issue with this thing, with this graphic novel. This is by J.T. Kroll and Vincent Hernandez, and it is the time jumps are too big, and you have no actual story you can latch on, and there's no world building or explanation or anything. And so for me, it makes it kind of a pass, honestly. But I mean, if you like sci-fi and everything, I know the collection isn't complete, but if you like that stuff, maybe give it a shot. It wasn't for me. I didn't exactly like it. So this is our like February wrap up. If you guys want to leave some suggestions for me down below, I would really appreciate it, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!